The council chamber stretched across 300 meters of polished crystal floor. Light filtered through walls made of compressed starlight, casting rainbow patterns on the faces of beings from 60 different species. At the far end of the enormous room sat the High Arbiter's throne, elevated above all others. Below it, arranged in descending circles, sat the representatives of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations, and at the very bottom, almost touching the floor, sat the human delegation. Ambassador Hee-Jin Lee stood at the speaking platform for the 4th time that day. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple style, and her formal diplomatic robes hung loosely on her thin frame. She had lost weight over the past few months. Stress did that to a person, especially when every single petition was denied before the words even left her mouth. "Honored Council," she began, her voice steady despite the exhaustion she felt. "I once again bring forward the matter of trade restrictions in the Kepler sector. Human colonies there are being charged triple the standard rate for basic medical supplies. Our people are dying from treatable diseases because—" A clicking sound interrupted her. Councillor Velthar, whose body resembled a massive spider made of chrome and bone, leaned forward on his seat. "The rates are fair. Perhaps humans should learn better resource management instead of complaining to this council every week." Laughter rippled through the chamber. It was not kind laughter. Hee-Jin's jaw tightened, but she continued. "With respect, Councillor, the rates charged to human colonies are 3 times higher than those charged to any other species for identical goods. This is not a matter of management. This is discrimination." High Arbiter Quindal raised one of his 6 arms. The ancient being's skin shimmered like oil on water, constantly shifting colors. "Ambassador Lee, this council has been operating for 12,000 years. Humanity has been a member for only 73. Perhaps in another 1,000 years, when your species has proven itself worthy of trust, we can discuss equal treatment. Until then, you will accept the terms offered to junior members." "Junior members?" Hee-Jin's voice rose slightly. "We have contributed technology, resources, and knowledge to this council for 7 decades. We have never broken a treaty. We have never started a conflict. What more must we prove?" Velthar clicked again, his version of a chuckle. "You must prove you are not the violent, aggressive species your history suggests. Your planet's past is soaked in blood. Wars, genocides, destruction. We cannot trust such a species with full council privileges." "Every species here has a violent past," Hee-Jin said. "The Velthar Hive Wars killed billions. The Quindal Purge is legendary across the galaxy. Yet somehow only humanity must continuously prove ourselves." The chamber fell silent. Several councillors shifted uncomfortably. No one spoke of the old wars. That was considered impolite. High Arbiter Quindal's color shifted to angry reds and blacks. "You forget your place, human. This council decides what is fair. Not you. Your petition is denied. As always." Hee-Jin stood frozen at the platform. 73 years. Her grandmother had been part of the first human delegation to make contact with the Galactic Council. They had come with hope, with dreams of friendship and cooperation among the stars. Instead, they found a hierarchy as rigid as stone. The old species ruled. The young species obeyed. That was the way it had always been. She gathered her papers slowly, deliberately. "Then I suppose we have nothing more to discuss." "Finally, she understands," Velthar said to scattered laughter. Hee-Jin walked back through the chamber toward the exit. The other delegates watched her go, some with pity, most with indifference. She had become a familiar sight over the years. The human ambassador making her pointless speeches, getting rejected and leaving with quiet dignity. Captain Minho Park waited for her outside the chamber doors. He was younger than Hee-Jin, barely 40, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. As commander of the human delegation ship Resilience, he had attended hundreds of these sessions. He had watched his ambassador be humiliated again and again, and each time it made his blood boil a little hotter. "The same?" he asked quietly. "The same," Hee-Jin confirmed. They walked together through the station's corridors toward the docking bay where their ship waited. Around them, aliens of every description moved about their business. None of them paid the humans any attention. They were used to seeing them here, used to ignoring them. "How much longer are we going to do this?" Minho asked. "How many times do we have to beg?" "Until Earth Command says otherwise," Hee-Jin replied. But there was something in her voice, something tired and worn. Minho had known her for 5 years, and he had never heard her sound quite like this before. They reached the Resilience and boarded quickly. The ship was small compared to the massive vessels of the other Council species. Human technology was good but not great. Adequate, the Council called it. Just barely acceptable. Hyejin went straight to her quarters and locked the door. Only then did she pull out the small data chip she had been carrying in her pocket all day. It had arrived that morning through encrypted channels marked for her eyes only. She inserted it into her personal terminal and entered her security codes. A message appeared on the screen. It was short. Just 2 words, Protocol Exodus. Hyejin stared at those words for a long time. Her hands began to shake. She had hoped she would never see this message. She had believed that somehow, some way the Council would eventually see reason, that humanity's patience and persistence would be rewarded, that 73 years of humiliation would mean something. She had been wrong. Protocol Exodus had been developed 40 years ago, when it became clear that the Council would never willingly grant humanity equal status. It was a contingency plan, a last resort, and now Earth Command was activating it. Read the full message that followed the code phrase. Instructions, timelines, preparations, everything. Humanity had been quietly building for decades was about to be put into motion. The Council had no idea what was coming. They thought humans were weak, helpless, trapped in their tiny corner of space. They had no idea at all. Hyejin took a deep breath and deleted the message. The data chip she destroyed completely, burning it to ash in a small disposal unit. Then she opened her communication channel to Captain Minho. "Prepare the crew for departure," she said. "We are leaving Council space. Where are we going?" he asked. "Home," she said simply. "We are going home. And we are not coming back." Minho paused. "Ambassador, what is happening?" "What should have happened a long time ago," Hyejin said. She felt strange saying it. Part of her felt relief. Part of her felt sadness. But most of all, she felt something she had not felt in years. She felt hope. In the Council chamber, the session continued without the humans. New petitions were heard, new decisions were made. Councillor Velthar made another joke about the departed humans, and the chamber filled with laughter once again. High Arbiter Quindal declared it a productive day. None of them noticed the human ambassador's final words before she left. None of them paid attention to the look in her eyes. None of them realized that they had just made the biggest mistake in the galaxy's history. They had pushed humanity too far. Admiral Jiho Kang stood on the observation deck of the orbital station above Earth, watching the planet turn slowly beneath him. Blue and green and white, unchanged for billions of years. Humanity had spread to 40 colonies across 20 star systems, but Earth remained home. Earth remained the heart. "Admiral, the last transport has arrived," reported his aide. "All civilian personnel are now accounted for." Jiho nodded. "And the military assets?" "Every ship, every station, every installation has been withdrawn as ordered. We are ready to proceed with Phase 2. For 6 months, humanity had been pulling back. Quietly, carefully, without fanfare or announcement, human traders stopped running routes through Council space. Research stations were packed up overnight, their equipment and personnel transported back to human territory. Diplomats returned home on the last shuttles. Every human presence in Council space simply vanished. At first, the Council barely noticed. Why would they? Humans were insignificant. Their absence meant nothing, but Councillor Brix had noticed. The insectoid being had always been more observant than his colleagues. He studied patterns, tracked movements, analyzed data that others ignored. And the data was showing something disturbing. He presented his findings to the Council 3 months into humanity's withdrawal. The chamber was half empty that day, many councillors considering the session unimportant enough to skip. "The humans have completely withdrawn from Council space," Brix said, his translator rendering his clicking speech into standard galactic language. "Not a single human vessel has been detected in our territory for 90 days. All their trade routes have been abandoned. All their diplomatic channels are closed." Velthar waved a dismissive leg. "So? They are having a tantrum like children. They will return when they realize they need us." "I am not certain of that," Brix said. "I have analyzed their withdrawal pattern. It is too organized, too complete. This is not emotion. This is planning." High Arbiter Quindal changed colors to indicate boredom. "You worry too much, Brix. Humans are weak. Without Council protection and trade, they will collapse within a year. They will come begging for readmission, and we will grant it on even stricter terms. They need to learn their lesson." The session ended without any action taken. Brix returned to his quarters feeling unsettled. Something was wrong. He could feel it in the way the data aligned. Humans did not do things without reason. They were patient, methodical, careful. This withdrawal was not anger. It was preparation, but preparation for what? At the edge of human space, Captain Daesung Kim commanded the colony ship New Dawn. His vessel was enormous, designed to carry 10,000 people and everything needed to start a new settlement. But today he was not delivering colonists. He was bringing them home. All personnel from Station Kepler 442 are aboard, his first officer reported. Life support is stable. We are ready for departure. Daesung looked at the view screen showing the station they were abandoning. It had taken 15 years to build, a joint project between humans and 3 other species. Now the humans were leaving, taking their technology and knowledge with them. The other species had sent confused messages asking why. Daesung had not answered. Orders were orders. Set course for Seoul, he commanded. Maximum speed. The New Dawn turned and accelerated away, its powerful engines pushing it toward home. Behind it, the station grew smaller and smaller until it vanished among the stars. Dr. Yoonji Choi worked without sleep for 3 days straight, running final checks on the Veil project. The satellite network stretched across the entire border of human space, thousands of units working in perfect coordination. Each satellite was small, barely larger than a person, but together they would create something unprecedented. All systems are green, reported her assistant. We can activate at any time. Yoonji rubbed her tired eyes. Not yet, we wait for Admiral Kang's signal. Everyone must be inside the perimeter first. The Veil project had been developed in secret over 20 years. It used quantum distortion technology to create a barrier in space that blocked all sensors, all communications, all observation from outside. To anyone looking in, it would appear as if the space simply ended. Nothing could penetrate it without humanity's permission. It would hide humanity's territory completely. And inside that hidden space, humanity could do whatever they wanted without the Council watching. 6 months after the withdrawal began, Ambassador Hyejin appeared before the Galactic Council one final time. But she did not appear in person. She sent a hologram, a recording, timed to play at the start of the session. The counselors watched as her image materialized above the speaking platform. She wore simple clothes, not the formal robes of a diplomat. Her expression was calm, almost peaceful. Members of the Galactic Council, her recording said, I address you one final time to inform you of humanity's decision. For 73 years we sought friendship. We sought partnership. We sought fairness and equality. Instead you gave us mockery, exploitation, and contempt. You told us we were too young, too violent, too unworthy of respect. The chamber was completely silent. Every counselor was present, watching. We no longer seek your approval, Hyejin continued. We no longer require your permission. We no longer desire a place at your table. Humanity hereby withdraws from the Galactic Council permanently. We will pursue our own path, our own future, without your interference. Velthar started to laugh. But High Arbiter Quindal raised a hand for silence. Do not attempt to follow us, Hyejin's recording said. Do not attempt to enter our territory. Do not attempt to contact us. We want nothing from you. We need nothing from you. This is farewell. The hologram vanished. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then the chamber erupted. Counselors shouted over each other, some laughing, some angry, some confused. High Arbiter Quindal called for order, his colors flashing through the entire spectrum. This is meaningless, Quindal declared when silence finally returned. Humanity cannot survive without the Council. They have nowhere to go, no one to trade with, no protection from threats. They will return within months, broken and desperate. This foolishness will end quickly. Velthar clicked in agreement. Let them hide in their little corner of space. They are irrelevant. The galaxy will continue without them. But Brick said nothing. He was studying the transmission data, analyzing the signal source. The hologram had been sent from deep inside human territory, from a location that his sensors could no longer detect. Something was blocking his instruments. Something was hiding human space from observation. That night, Admiral Jiho Kang stood in the command center of Earth Defense Station 1. Around him, hundreds of officers monitored displays showing every corner of human territory. The last civilian transport had arrived hours ago. Every human was now within the perimeter. Dr. Choi, he said into his communicator. Activate the veil. Understood, Admiral. Activating now. Across thousands of satellites, power systems came online. Quantum generators hummed to life. Reality itself began to bend and twist as the veil took form. From the Council's perspective, it happened in seconds. One moment they could see human space on their long-range sensors. The next moment there was nothing. Just empty space where an entire civilization had been. Every sensor showed the same thing, nothing. Every communication attempt bounced back, nothing. Every scan returned, nothing. Humanity had vanished behind a wall. Jiho watched the displays showing the veil's status. All green. All stable. The barrier was perfect. How long do we maintain this? Asked his aide. Jiho smiled. As long as it takes. Let the Council wonder. Let them worry. Let them start to understand what they have done. And Phase 3? Phase 3 begins now, Jiho said. We build, we prepare, and when we are ready, we show them what humanity can really do. Outside the veil, the galaxy continued as it always had. The Council met, made decisions, conducted business. But something had changed. Something felt wrong. Humanity's absence was like a missing tooth, a gap that the tongue kept finding. And in the darkness behind the veil, humanity worked. 2 years passed since humanity disappeared behind the veil. At first, the Galactic Council barely noticed the absence. But slowly, like a wound that starts small and then spreads, the problems began to appear. Trademaster Yilix was the first to sound the alarm. The reptilian being stood before the Council with data chips clutched in his scaled hands, his tail twitching with agitation. The economic reports are clear, Yilix said. We are experiencing shortages across 17 sectors, medical supplies, computer systems, agricultural equipment, all items that humans use to provide. We dismiss their goods as adequate but unremarkable. We were wrong. How wrong? Asked High Arbiter Quindal, his colors showing mild concern. Human medical scanners were 30% more efficient than alternatives and cost half as much. Their computer processing units were smaller and faster. Their agricultural technology increased crop yields by significant margins. We did not realize how much we relied on their products until they were gone. Velthar clicked dismissively. So we buy from other suppliers. This is not a crisis. The other suppliers cannot meet demand, Yilix replied, and their prices have increased dramatically. What cost 10 credits when humans supplied it now costs 50. Black markets are forming. Some stations are paying 100 times the original price for human goods that still exist in circulation. The Council chamber fell quiet. Economics were supposed to be simple. Supply and demand. One supplier leaves, another fills the gap. But humanity had supplied goods so efficiently, so cheaply, that no one else could match them. This is temporary, Quindal declared. Other species will adapt. The market will stabilize, but the market did not stabilize. It got worse. Fleet Commander Thos brought the next problem to the Council's attention. The military commander's species resembled walking crystals, light refracting through his body as he spoke. Piracy has increased by 400% in sectors formerly patrolled by human vessels, Thos reported. Trade routes that were safe for decades are now dangerous. We have lost 17 merchant ships in the past month alone. Why were humans patrolling those sectors? Velthar asked. Those were not assigned patrol zones. They were doing it voluntarily, Thos said. Apparently, human ships traveled those routes regularly for trade. They dealt with pirates as they encountered them. We assumed the sectors were safe due to our own patrols. We were wrong. The humans were the reason those routes were secure. Councillor Brix added his own concerns. I have been monitoring all attempts to scan past the veil. Every probe we send returns empty data. Every long-range sensor shows nothing. It is as if human space simply does not exist anymore. Good riddance, Velthar said. Let them hide in their corner. We do not need them. But some ships have reported strange readings, Brix continued. Vessels that pass near the veil boundary detect unusual energy signatures, brief flashes of something massive beyond the barrier. Construction projects, perhaps. But the readings vanish before we can analyze them properly. Construction of what? Quindal asked. I do not know. But the energy requirements suggested by these flashes are enormous, far beyond anything humanity possessed before. Several councillors shifted uncomfortably. The idea that humans might be building something in secret was disturbing. But without being able to see past the veil, they had no way to know what was happening. Captain Soman Ryu sat in the command chair of the stealth observation. Post-station Shadow, hidden in a dead star system 3 light-years from the nearest council station. Her ship was tiny, designed for exactly one purpose: to watch and listen without being detected. For 2 years, she and her crew had monitored council communications. They recorded every transmission, every council session, every military movement. All of it was sent back to Earth through secure channels. "They are starting to panic," her communications officer reported. "The Economic Council held an emergency session yesterday. They are discussing sanctions against species that trade in human black market goods." Soman smiled. "Sanctions against black market goods that they claim they do not need. Interesting. Should we report this to Admiral Kang?" "Yes, and include the intercepts from the military channels. Fleet Commander Thoss is recommending sending a probe fleet to the Veil boundary. They want to test it." The report was transmitted that night. It traveled through a network of relay stations hidden throughout neutral space, each one adding another layer of encryption. By the time it reached Earth, it was completely untraceable. Admiral Jiho Kang read the report in his office overlooking the construction yards above Mars. Through the window, he could see the skeletal frames of new ships taking shape, hundreds of them, each one incorporating technology that the Council had never seen. "They want to test the Veil," Kang said to his chief of staff. "Let them. The barrier will hold. And if they try to break through, then they will fail," Kang said simply. "The Veil is not just a sensor screen. It is a defensive barrier. Nothing gets through without our permission. When do we proceed to Phase 4? Kang looked at the construction yards again. So much progress in just 2 years. So much more to do. Soon, but not yet. Let them worry a little longer. Let the cracks in their council grow wider." Back in council space, Councillor Brix made one more attempt to convince his fellow councillors to take action. He prepared a comprehensive presentation, filled with data and projections. He showed them the economic decline, the security failures, the growing unrest among the member species. "We made a mistake," Brix said to the assembled council. "We treated humanity with contempt when we should have treated them with respect. We drove them away, and now we are paying the price. I propose we send a diplomatic envoy to the Veil boundary. We should apologize and invite them back to the council with full membership and equal status." The chamber was silent. Then Velthar began to click laughter. "Apologize?" Velthar said. "To humans? Never. Our pride is worth more than their trade goods. They were weak. They proved it by running away, and we will not lower ourselves to beg them to return." Other councillors murmured agreement. The idea of admitting fault was unthinkable. The council had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They did not apologize. They did not beg. They commanded, and others obeyed. High Arbiter Quindal listened to the debate, his colors shifting slowly between deep blue and dark purple. Finally he spoke. "Councillor Brix's concerns are noted, but the council's dignity must be maintained. We will not apologize. We will not beg. Humanity chose to leave. That was their decision. If they wish to return, they know where to find us." The vote was called. Brix's proposal to send an envoy was rejected by a margin of 58-2. Brix returned to his chambers feeling defeated. He pulled up the latest data on his personal terminal, studying the energy readings from the Veil boundary. The flashes were becoming more frequent. Whatever humanity was building, it was big, very big. He composed a personal message to Dr. Jiwon Nam, a human xenoanthropologist who had stayed behind after the withdrawal. She had chosen to remain at the council as an independent observer, not representing humanity but not abandoning them either. "Dr. Nam," his message read, "I fear we have made a terrible mistake. Can you tell me honestly? What are your people building behind that barrier?" "What should we expect?" The reply came 12 hours later. It was brief. "Councillor Brix, I cannot tell you what we are building. But I can tell you this, you had 73 years to treat us as equals. You chose mockery instead. Now you will learn what happens when you force a patient people to become something else. I suggest you prepare. The awakening is coming." Brix read the message 3 times. Each time his unease grew stronger. He forwarded the message to High Arbiter Quindal with a note. "We must take this seriously." Quindal's response was dismissive. "Dr. Nam is trying to frighten us. Humans are weak. This changes nothing." But late at night, alone in his chambers, Quindal was not so confident. He pulled up the same energy readings that Brix had analyzed. The flashes beyond the veil were massive, impossibly massive. What could require so much power? He told himself it meant nothing. He told himself humanity was bluffing. He told himself the Council was still supreme. He did not believe any of it. In the construction yards above Mars, the first of the new warships was nearly complete. It was beautiful in a terrifying way, all sharp angles and dark metal. Captain Taewan walked its corridors, inspecting every system personally. "She is ready for trials, Captain," the chief engineer reported. Taewan nodded. "Good, what is her name?" "The crew has voted. They want to call her Retribution." Taewan smiled. "Perfect. Absolutely perfect." The emergency transmission arrived at the Galactic Council headquarters on a quiet morning. The signal was marked urgent, coming from the Velkar hegemony, a powerful empire that had never joined the Council, preferring to expand through conquest rather than diplomacy. High Arbiter Quindal received the transmission personally. What he saw made his colors drain to pale white. The recording showed a fleet. 300 warships, the pride of the Velkar military, arranged in standard battle formation. Their vessels were massive, built for overwhelming force. The Velkar were known throughout the galaxy as aggressive, fearless, and extremely dangerous. The recording's timestamp showed the fleet approaching what appeared to be empty space. Then a single ship appeared on the sensors. It was human. Not large, perhaps the size of a standard council cruiser. Black metal with minimal markings. The name on its hull read Retribution. The Velkar commander's voice came through the recording. "Unknown vessel, you are in territory claimed by the Velkar hegemony. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed." A response came from the human ship. The voice was calm, almost bored. "This is Captain Taewan of the human vessel Retribution. You are at the border of human space. Leave now. This is your only warning." The Velkar commander laughed. "One ship against 300? Your arrogance will be your death. All vessels, open fire." What happened next made Quindal replay the recording 5 times because he could not believe what he was seeing. The Velkar fleet fired. Thousands of weapons lit up the darkness of space. Energy beams, missiles, plasma cannons, everything they had launched at the single human ship. The Retribution did not dodge. It did not raise shields. It simply existed in the space where all those weapons were aimed, and nothing touched it. The weapons fire seemed to bend around the human ship, curving away as if the vessel existed in a slightly different reality. Not a single shot connected. The Retribution sat in the center of the storm, completely untouched. Then the human ship returned fire. Quindal had seen weapons before. He had seen every type of military technology the galaxy had to offer. He had never seen anything like this. The Retribution did not fire beams or missiles. It fired something else. Reality itself seemed to crack around the Velkar ships. They did not explode. They did not burn. They simply stopped existing. One moment a massive warship was there. The next moment nothing remained. Not even debris. The atoms themselves were scattered across space, too dispersed to detect. Ship after ship vanished. The Velkar fleet tried to retreat, tried to regroup, tried everything. Nothing worked. The Retribution moved through them like death itself, methodical and unstoppable. 4 minutes. That was how long the battle lasted. 4 minutes for 300 warships to become nothing. The recording showed one Velkar command ship remaining, its weapons offline, its engines damaged. The human captain's voice came through again. "Return to your empire. Tell them what you saw here. Tell them that humanity is no longer interested in playing the galaxy's games. This is your only warning. If any Velkar ship approaches human space again, there will be no survivors." The recording ended with the command ship limping away, leaving behind an empty space where a fleet had been. Quindal called an emergency council session. Every counselor was required to attend. The chamber filled within the hour. Beings from 60 species all talking at once, all demanding to know what was happening. "Silence," Quindal commanded, his colors flashing red. The chamber obeyed. "We have received a transmission. You need to see this." He played the recording. The chamber watched in complete silence. When it ended, nobody spoke for nearly a minute. Then chaos erupted. Counselors shouted questions, demands, accusations. Some wanted to send their fleets to investigate. Others wanted to hide. A few suggested immediate surrender, though surrender to what they could not say. "This cannot be real," Velthar said, his clicking voice high-pitched with stress. "This must be a fake. Humans do not have this technology. This is impossible. The Velkar confirmed it, Quindal said quietly. Their empire sent us a follow-up message. 300 ships, 14,000 crew, all gone in 4 minutes. The energy readings are confirmed. This happened. Dr. Jiwon Nam entered the chamber then. She had not been invited, but nobody stopped her. The human xenoanthropologist walked slowly to the center of the floor, looking around at the assembled counselors. You wanted to know what humanity was building behind the veil, she said. Her voice carried clearly through the silent chamber. Now you know. You treated us like children. You mocked our attempts at diplomacy. You charged us unfair prices and denied us basic respect. For 73 years we endured it. We were patient. We were peaceful. We tried to work within your system. She paused, letting her words sink in. You mistook that patience for weakness. You thought we were helpless, trapped, dependent on your counsel for survival. You were wrong. We were not weak. We were learning. We were preparing. We were building. Behind the veil, away from your watching eyes, we developed technology you cannot imagine. We created weapons you cannot defend against. We became something you should fear. This is a threat, Velthar said. You are threatening this council. No, Jiwon said. I am explaining reality. The Velkar attacked first. They were warned. They chose violence. They faced the consequences. Humanity does not want to conquer the galaxy. We do not want to rule you. We simply want to be left alone. But if you threaten us, if you attack us, if you send your fleets against us, you will face the same fate as the Velkar. Counselor Brick spoke up then. Dr. Nam, what do you want from us? What are humanity's intentions? Jiwon looked at him and something like sadness crossed her face. Counselor Bricks, you were always kind to us. You tried to help. I am sorry you were not listened to. As for our intentions, we have none regarding the council. You are irrelevant to humanity now. We will trade with species who wish to trade fairly. We will defend our territory and our people. Beyond that, we want nothing from you. That ship, Quindal said slowly. The Retribution. How many more like it do you have? Jiwon smiled. It was not a warm smile. Enough. More than enough. She turned and walked out of the chamber. Nobody tried to stop her. The counselors sat in silence, each dealing with the new reality in their own way. High Arbiter Quindal felt something he had not felt in thousands of years. Fear. Real, genuine fear. The Velkar were one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy, and humanity had destroyed their fleet with a single ship. A single ship? How many more did they have? What else had they built? What other weapons, what other technologies were hiding behind that veil? What do we do? Asked a minor counselor from the back rows. Quindal had no answer. For the first time in his very long life, the leader of the Galactic Council had absolutely no idea what to do. On the Retribution, Captain Taewon An reviewed the battle data with his crew. The ship had performed perfectly. Every system had worked exactly as designed. The mission had been a complete success. Send the report to Admiral Kang, Taewon ordered. Demonstration complete. Council has been notified. Awaiting further orders, the reply came within an hour. Taewon read it and smiled. What does it say? His first officer asked. It says Phase 4 is complete. We proceed to Phase 5. Taewon looked at the view screen showing the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, the council was panicking. Good. Let them panic. Let them understand what they had created by pushing humanity too far. What is Phase 5? The first officer asked. We go home, Taewon said. We wait, and we let them decide what happens next. The next move is theirs. They can choose peace or they can choose what the Velkar chose. Either way, humanity will be ready. The Retribution turned and accelerated back toward the veil. Behind it, the Council and the galaxy were left to deal with a new reality. Humanity was no longer the weak junior species begging for scraps. Humanity was something else entirely. Something powerful, something dangerous, something that would no longer be ignored or dismissed. The galaxy watched in terror as humanity abandoned the table, and the galaxy realized too late that the table had never mattered at all. 3 months passed after the Velkar incident. 3 months of silence from humanity. 3 months of the council debating, arguing, and accomplishing nothing. Some counselors wanted to prepare for war. Others wanted to send diplomatic envoys. Most simply wanted to pretend nothing had changed, but everything had changed. Then, on an ordinary Tuesday morning, The veil dropped. Sensors across council space suddenly detected what had been hidden for more than 2 years. What they saw made entire civilizations stop and stare. Humanity had not been hiding. Humanity had been building. The barrier of stations surrounding human space was visible first. Each station was enormous, larger than most capital ships, bristling with weapons and defensive systems. Counselor Brix counted 47 of them on his long-range scans, arranged in perfect geometric patterns around human territory. Beyond the stations, a fleet patrolled. Not the small human ships the Council remembered. These were massive vessels, each one built with the same technology as the Retribution. Sleek, dark, powerful. The sensors counted 200 ships on the first scan, then 300. Then 400 as more emerged from behind planets and moons. But the stations and ships were not the most shocking part. Behind them, visible through the most powerful telescopes, were structures that should not exist. A ring circling Earth's sun, partially completed but already functional. Habitats the size of moons orbiting Jupiter and Saturn. Construction yards above Mars that stretched for thousands of kilometers. Mining operations in the asteroid belt so vast they had reshaped entire regions. In 2 years, humanity had built more than the Council had built in a century. How? Velthar asked, staring at the data. How is this possible? They did not have this technology. They did not have these resources. How? Dr. Jiwon Nam, who had remained at the Council station, answered. You told us we were too young, too primitive, too unworthy. You were right about one thing: we were young, and the young learn faster than the old. While you rested on ancient achievements, we innovated. While you maintained old systems, we created new ones. While you told us we could not, we did. This is a threat, declared High Arbiter Quindal. This buildup is clearly meant to intimidate the Council. We should respond with force. With what force? Brix asked quietly. Did you see those weapons platforms? Did you count those ships? And remember, we have only seen one of those ships in combat. One ship destroyed the Velkar fleet. They have 400. The Council chamber fell silent. Then a new transmission arrived. This time it was expected. Ambassador Heejin Lee appeared before the Council, but not as a hologram. She arrived in person, aboard a ship that made the Council's finest vessels look like antiques. Her escort was a full military honor guard, armed and armored, standing at perfect attention. Heejin walked to the center of the chamber floor. She did not bow. She did not ask for permission to speak. She simply began. Members of the Galactic Council, I return not as a supplicant but as a representative of an independent, sovereign, and powerful human civilization. I come with a message from Earth. She activated a holographic display. Images filled the air above the chamber. Human colonies thriving, human technology advancing, human people living in peace and prosperity. For 73 years, humanity sought a place at your table. We believed in cooperation. We believed in shared prosperity. We believed that different species could work together for mutual benefit. You taught us that we were wrong. You taught us that this galaxy respects only power. You taught us that fairness does not exist, that justice is a fantasy, and that the strong dictate terms to the weak. Heejin's voice was steady, neither angry nor sad, simply factual. We learned your lesson well. We are no longer weak. We no longer seek your approval. We no longer need your counsel. What we offer you now is a choice. Another hologram appeared, showing trade routes and diplomatic channels. Humanity will establish independent relations with any species that wishes peaceful trade and cooperation. We will offer fair prices, fair terms, and fair treatment. We will protect the shipping lanes that you abandoned. We will share medical and agricultural technology that you hoarded. We will do what you refused to do. We will treat others with respect. And if we refuse? Velthar asked. Then you refuse, Heejin said simply. We do not require your participation. We are informing you as a courtesy, nothing more. Chancellor Junho Song appeared then, his hologram materializing beside Heejin. He was the leader of Earth's united government, the highest authority humanity possessed. His presence made a statement. This was official, this was final. High Arbiter Quindal, Junho said, you asked Ambassador Lee what humanity wants from the Council. The answer is simple, nothing. We wanted respect. We wanted fairness. We wanted partnership. You taught us those things cannot be found here, so we will create them ourselves. The Galactic Council is irrelevant to humanity's future. The words hit the chamber like physical blows. Irrelevant. The council that had ruled the galaxy for 12,000 years, dismissed as irrelevant by a species barely a century old. However, Junho continued, let me be absolutely clear about one thing. Humanity does not seek conquest. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We do not want to destroy the council. What we want is to be left alone to pursue our own destiny. Any species that respects our sovereignty will find us generous friends. Any species that threatens our people, our colonies, or our territory will face consequences. The Velkar learned this lesson. I hope it does not need to be taught again. The hologram ended. Hyejin stood alone on the chamber floor waiting. High Arbiter Quindal looked old suddenly. His colors had faded to dull grays and browns. He was thousands of years old, had led the council for centuries, had seen empires rise and fall, but he had never seen anything like this. What do you want from us? He asked, his voice tired. Nothing, Hyejin repeated. But I suggest you consider what you want from us. Several species have already approached humanity privately requesting trade agreements. We have accepted their offers. The Council's monopoly on galactic trade is ending. How you respond to that reality is your choice. She turned and walked out. Her guards followed in perfect formation. The Council chamber watched them go in silence. Over the following months, 17 species approached humanity with requests for separate trade agreements. Humanity accepted all of them, offering fair prices and fair terms. The goods that had become rare and expensive suddenly became available again at reasonable rates. The Council's authority began to crumble. Species that had always obeyed now questioned whether they needed Council permission for anything. If humanity could thrive independently, why could not they? The Council met in emergency session after emergency session, trying to stop the bleeding. But there was nothing they could do. They could not offer better terms than humanity. They could not threaten species into compliance, not when humanity offered protection to any species that wanted it. They could not even pretend to be the only option anymore. The old order was dying. Counselor Brix met privately with Dr. Jiwon Nam one final time before she left to return to human space. We made a terrible mistake, Brix said. I knew it years ago, but I could not convince the others. Now it is too late. The Council will never recover from this. Jiwon looked at him with sympathy. You tried, Counselor. You were one of the few who treated us with respect. I will remember that. Humanity will remember that. What will happen to us? Brix asked. Nothing, Jiwon said. The Council will continue to exist. Some species will remain members, but you will never again be the power you were. The galaxy is changing. Humanity is part of that change, but we are not the only part. Other species will follow our example. They will realize they do not need the Council's permission to thrive, and slowly the old ways will fade. Is this revenge? Brix asked. No, Jiwon said. Revenge would be destroying you. This is simply consequence. You treated humanity with contempt and we left. We built something better and others want to join us. That is not revenge. That is evolution. She left the station that day, returning to human space. Brix watched her ship depart, then looked at the displays showing human territory. The ring around the sun was nearly complete now. The habitats were expanding. The fleet was growing. A new power had emerged in the galaxy. A power that the Council had created through its own arrogance. Years later, at a military academy on a planet far from Earth, a young alien cadet studied historical footage of the Velkar incident. Her instructor, a veteran warrior, stood beside her as the recording played. Why do we study this battle? The cadet asked. It was over so quickly. What can we learn from it? The instructor was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke. We study it to remember. For thousands of years, the strong ruled the weak in this galaxy. The Council enforced that rule. They told the younger species to wait, to obey, to accept their place. Most species accepted it, but humanity did not. They were patient for 73 years. They tried diplomacy. They tried cooperation. They tried everything the right way, and when that failed, the cadet asked, when that failed, they left. They did not start a war. They did not destroy the Council. They simply walked away and built something better. And when the Velkar tried to stop them, they learned what humanity had become behind that veil. 300 ships gone in 4 minutes. That is the lesson. What is the lesson? The cadet asked. The instructor looked at her seriously. The lesson is this. Never mistake patience for weakness. Never confuse diplomacy with helplessness, and never ever force a peaceful species to become something else. Because when they do, when they finally abandon the table and decide they no longer need your approval, you will watch in terror as they show you what they truly are. The cadet looked at the frozen image of the Retribution on the screen, a single ship that had changed the galaxy. Did the Council ever apologize? She asked. No, the instructor said. They never did. And that is why humanity never returned. Some mistakes cannot be fixed. Some lessons come too late. Remember that, cadet. Always remember that. The lesson ended. The cadet left to study more. But she would never forget the image of that ship, or the story of the species that abandoned the table and built an empire in the darkness. The galaxy had watched in terror as humanity left, and the galaxy would never be the same.